All right, good evening, ladies. All right, so we're live on both Pump.Fun and YouTube now. So if you want to watch on Pump.Fun, and we'll talk about why you'd want to be watching from Pump.Fun later on in this video. And like I said in the Pump video stream, I just started on that one first. Yeah, we'll keep this one brief. There's just a few things I wanted to talk about. The markets are hot, and there's a few fun things going on, and a few things, to talk about. Why the fuck did they show you? So let me see on YouTube if anyone's commented or live. Grand. Okay, we're good to go. All right. So the first thing I want to talk about is, as you can see on the display, is Pump.Fun, and yeah, this token has been performing extremely badly ever since Alon, the founder, tweeted "Jew mode engaged" or whatever he tweeted. It's just gone to zero. So I kind of want to talk about whether or not, like, what do I think on the PumpFun token at these prices. Now, if you didn't know, if you didn't realize, this is essentially the right here is the ICO price. So anyone who bought the ICO got in at this price, and as you can see, it bounced perfectly off that level. So we can, like, literally, a lot of people are going to have limits just here. So it's actually even a tiny bit lower. So do I think it's going to get down below that? I say it could do briefly, but I think, like, the risk to reward on Pump.Fun at the IPO price is probably pretty high. And I think if it does go lower, I don't think it would be that much lower. So I do think, like, it's probably a decent risk to reward trade at these, like, the $4, well, $0.004 range, because I think the downside is limited. Maybe the upside isn't like 10x or even like 3x, but the upside is still, like, probably at least a 2x or something, just with the amount of money that they're making. It's the hottest product in crypto. So, like, Pump and Hyperliquid are the biggest successes of this cycle. Like, obviously, Hyperliquid, when it airdropped, it just went crazy straight away. And these shorts, this is just shit. That's just me doing delta neutral trades, so don't worry. Yeah, well, but I just want to show this, probably too long of a chart. Yeah, when Pump.Fun dropped, it just ripped straight to zero. We should probably do the spot hype spot. Cool. Yeah, when Hyperliquid dropped, it just ripped instantly, like literally from, okay, you couldn't even buy it at these prices. But I think it chilled at around $4 when it first originally, in the first day, you could have bought it at like $4, ripped straight up to 10, came back down, and then just went all the way to 35, and then just chilled for a while, dumped, blah blah blah. You get the point. A lot of people are expecting Pump to behave similarly because it's a high revenue coin. It's super growing market. Well, it's not really growing market share anymore, but it's making a load of revenue and it's got lots and lots of users. So people thought maybe Pump would be the same as Hyperliquid, and it just hasn't played out in that way at all. So what do I think is likely for Pump next? I would stab a guess that it was a very hyped airdrop. No spot, so we need to go to perps. I would kind of compare it to something like Pengu. This was also an extremely hyped airdrop, and on the airdrop day, it was at a really high market cap in the billions. And then this was like the peak of. Let's see if anyone's comments. Yeah, if you have any questions, anything you want me to talk about, go for it. But yeah, Pengu dropped in the heat of the meme coins. Like, Donald Trump's coin just came out at that time. So yeah, it obviously launched with a really high market cap, and then everything dumped. So it went from 0.04 cents down to, it dropped 90%, and now it's come all the way back, like basically a 10x. It's came back from. Obviously, Pump isn't going to have that kind of volatility, but I could see the chart kind of playing out a bit like this. Maybe something along the lines of Now let me, instead of do spot, I need perps. Here we go. Oh, that's correct. So we could see it might take a little bit of time. Sorry. It might take a little bit of time, but maybe we could see something like that. It could even take longer than that because that's only a few days. So that's kind of what I would think might happen with Pump. The reason being, like, obviously Bitcoin right now is having a bit of a pullback, but yeah, what do I think of Bitcoin right here? I think we're just entering a new range. This is what Bitcoin's done every time in this cycle. I need to get off this. Let me just delete that. Here we go. This is what Bitcoin has done every time in this cycle. It's done a big pump every single time. Done a big pump, consolidated. Done a big pump, consolidated for 7 months. Done a huge pump, consolidated, and then there was some tariff fears, so that kind of messed up the range. But I think that's like probably this would have all just been one range if there wasn't all that tariff fiasco. But that's neither here nor there. I think now we might just be entering. Let me get rid of everything that's in the way. We might just be entering a new range here. Like everyone's just so quick to get bullish. Like we pumped a bit. I think we're probably just in a range here for a while, and then we might get another pump later in the year. That's kind of like my best guess, just going off the fact of what's happened every single time in this bull market so far. So maybe up to like 125, 130 would be like the top of the range, and then down to like 110 or something, the bottom of the range before making a final blow off. Maybe that's something, maybe that happens, maybe that doesn't, but that's just the best guess given what's happened so far in the cycle. Yeah, going back to pump, why do I think it's dropping right now? Firstly, I mentioned this in my pump video. Like a lot of people bought this in crazy size. Like they put like their entire net worth into this. They bought the ICO because they just thought it was going to be a free 2x. Let me just get rid of all this. How do I get rid of it? Well, sure, it doesn't matter. Just gonna have to put up with it. Everyone put their well, not everyone. A lot of people put their whole net worth into it, just assuming that this was going to be a free 2x and they'll just be able to sell it up here and like basically double their money, double their entire portfolio in a few days. But they did get like a 50% gain. That's what I said in my video. I was saying people are putting a lot of money into this. They'll be very happy. Like if you put your entire portfolio, say you're like a wealthy person or a whale, like making 25%, making 50%, making a 2x is absolutely huge. When you have millions of dollars, or say you have like a few $100,000 and you put like half your portfolio into PumpFun, then let's say you make $100,000 in 2 days just from like a 50% gain, you'd be so happy with that. Like, okay, $100,000 in a few days. Like I think anyone in the world's happy with that, apart from like, billionaires. So I kind of think that's what's happening here. People funds bought a lot of this, and yeah, they're going to be obviously really happy with like small gains in comparisons to us like plebs who like need a 10x just to feel something, you know what I mean? So I do think people who got the ICO are very happy to take a small amount of gains. And then similarly, I think people will be unlikely to sell below the ICO price, or there'll be just less demand. There'll be less people like who's going to sell something that they bought a few days earlier? Like, why would you buy the ICO if you're just going to sell it below the ICO price? I think there'd be a lot of demand under the ICO price. So I think this probably not the worst place to scale into PumpFun. Speaking of PumpFun, obviously I'm streaming on PumpFun. Do you think this is a good first DCA level for Pump? Yes, I do, Kenny. I wouldn't say this is a terrible spot. The reason being, like I said, this is the ICO price. And yeah, I think, and everyone's going crazy on Twitter. When you see people on Twitter, you see people anywhere on YouTube saying like, like posting a lot about a chart, laughing a lot at like how badly it's performing, or mocking people who put their money into something. That's usually like could potentially be a bottom signal. Do I think it's just gonna V-shape reverse out of there? Probably not. But if it does, that would be extremely bullish. But yeah, I could see a bit of chop here for a while. But if it does V-shape reverse, that would be really, really bullish. That just basically said, okay, there's a lot of buyers here. But I think it might take it's a huge amount of money. Like $4 billion market cap is high. So it might take a while for all the buyers to step in and absorb any of the selling pressure from the insiders and from the ICO people. Well, like I said, I don't think the ICO people, like the funds, were able to invest at the same price as like the public sale. Like they got in at a 4 billion market cap. So unless they're just trying to break even and they're like really worried, which why would they be really worried when Bitcoin's just made new all-time highs and it's likely that meme coins are going to go crazy again. So yeah, for that, I think it's like somewhat low downside. Like maybe you could get, 20 or lose 10, 20%, 30%, like down to 0.3. And I think everyone would be panicking here. If it got down to 0.3, everyone's going to be panicking. Everyone's like, oh my God, PumpFun is going to zero. And that's usually like a nice place to start entering. But I'm just, me personally, I actually bought a bit higher. I'm not going to put a huge amount of money into this. Now, what I will say about, we're going to talk about PumpFun, but I'll just skip to my next point unless, no questions. Yeah, so going into the next part of the cycle, what's my plan? Do you want to be taking a huge amount of risk? Like the way I think about it is, instead of being the gambler who's using PumpFun, instead of being the gambler who's using Hyperliquid to trade perps on high leverage, you should just own these venues. So own PumpFun, own Hyperliquid, because they're, as the bull market goes on, we can already see Hyperliquid, like the revenues they made today was just outrageous. Like their revenues is just going absolutely like crazy. I didn't actually check the revenues for PumpFun, but yeah, it's probably not doing too badly. Yeah, maybe I'll stick on PumpFun and then we'll talk about Hyperliquid. But yeah, I will say the revenues Hyperliquid made in the last few days is just crazy. So I want to talk about Hype as well. But what I did want to talk about in regards to PumpFun is the creator coins and these streamer coins. So apparently this guy Diddy Bop, he's like a, not a big streamer, but like not a small streamer, like not a small streamer either, but he's not a crypto streamer. He's just like a, normie streamer, like a small time case and that. I think he has a couple million followers on TikTok or YouTube or one of them, or Twitch. But he's like kind of going, well, he's not going all in, but he's trying out PumpFun because he sees it as a place where, you can take off because there's less competition. So he's like a mildly big creator trying out PumpFun, and I don't think he's going to be the last. There's a few reasons why I think creators will try out PumpFun, and it's mostly because of these creator rewards. So basically, I think you get, I don't know, but on every trade, PumpFun takes 1%, and they're giving half of that or some percentage of that fee from the volume to the creator, to the streamer. So like these kind of streamers who are getting a lot of volume on their chart, like that's a huge incentive for them to bridge over and try out PumpFun and start streaming on PumpFun. That's why I'm streaming on it. I'm going to give it a try and see if this is going to be like, because the YouTube ad revenue is like, even in crypto, I suppose like in the crypto space it's pretty good because crypto ad revenue is going to be decent, but the PumpFun revenue is going to be much better, like for the amount of time that you're actually putting onto it if people are buying and trading your coin. So yeah, I've gotten like no volume, so but we'll see over time. But I'd say someone like Rasmer, Yeah, his market cap is 5 million. So on every oh, he's actually live. Okay, sorry, I'll get off this because it's gonna mess up my stuff. But yeah, investing in something like Rasmer token, you know, if you think Rasmer is gonna go up, like I think 5 million is obviously quite high, but it's just an example to show you that like these guys are probably making decent money on Pump.Fun. So potentially some big streamers will come over from Twitch, from YouTube, and try out Pump.Fun because they can make a lot of money there. And that's bullish for Pump.Fun. Obviously, if they get big streamers onto Pump.Fun, that's huge, and that's what they're going after. And they're probably going to just give them, like, pay them to come over in the first place. So I think that's one of the things they want to do with their $1 billion that they have on their balance sheet. So yeah, Pump.Fun, they have like 1 or 2 billion on their balance sheet, and their circulating market cap is like 1 or 2 billion. Can't remember. But yeah. All right, let's move on to Hyperliquid. I think that's enough on Pump. But yeah, just in general, the streamer coins, like it's still extremely early. There's not like a huge amount of big streamers on here yet. So geez, look at this guy. Yeah, so it's still really, really early. Like you could probably, if you're like a higher risk investor, you could invest in some of these streamer coins. And I would say as well, because Pump.Fun are really going after streaming, they're probably going to reward people who are doing streams and who are buying streamer coins with the airdrop. It would be my guess, because obviously they want to become a streaming platform. They want to become a social media network and tie that in with creator coins. So moving on to Hyperliquid. Let's see if I can find the Hyperliquid revenue of today. Hyperliquid flows. All time. No, that's not the best one. Let's just go Hyperliquid. Perps and Hyperliquid. This is like the share. It's not exactly what I'm looking for. Stats. This is all lifetime. Cumulative volume, cumulative info. Today, new users. Today, this is the volume today, 30 billion. Pretty insane. But yeah, you can see like the volume is like reaching all-time highs here. Users is massive as well. Liquidated. Actual liquidated. Net P&L. Okay, I can't find how much they actually made today. Hyperliquid revenue, but I think it was an all-time high in revenue. It was I think it was $5 million. Yeah, here we go. Which annualized, it doesn't show you the annualized. Yeah, so they made $5 million today, which I think annualized. Oh yeah, there it is. $6 million today. Jesus, which is over $2 billion annualized. So if you watched my Hyperliquid videos, we were kind of saying that, like, based on the amount that they're earning on an annualized basis, which was at like 500 million, this was like a few months ago, they're really, really undervalued. And now they're earning 4 times that. Now, obviously, you can't just like assume they're going to earn that every single day, but I'd say as crypto prices keep increasing, as they're adding more perps to the exchange, as they add more spot tokens to the exchange, this annualized figure could increase over the next few months as well. So I think even with the amount of volume and fees they're generating, like they're probably, and with the actual Hyperliquid itself isn't like performing that well right now. It's actually reaching potentially a small entry, but yeah, probably on like a price to sales, price to earnings ratio, it's probably somewhat undervalued, not massively undervalued, but definitely not overvalued. And I will say with Hype and Pump, like if you want a safer entry, like you don't really like, this is a good zone because it's a support level. But if you want to be a bit safer, generally you want to wait for an uptrend to resume. So here you could have bought at the support level, but it just nuked straight through. Like this support level didn't hold and it just nuked straight through. The time to buy was when it became an uptrend again. So what do you need for an uptrend? So this is downtrend. What an uptrend is, you need a higher high and a higher low. So that would be a higher low. This would be another higher low, and that's a higher high, and that's a higher high. So you could enter like here on the next dip, and then should make new highs. So that's the safer way to buy coins like Hype and Pump. Wait for an uptrend to resume. Similarly with Pump, this is still like a massive downtrend. So even though you're at a good support zone, it's probably not a terrible entry. To be a bit safer, you could wait. Like this can keep just dropping. You have no idea. The safer thing to do is wait for it to go back into an uptrend. So the first thing you need to look for is the first higher low. See, this is a low. This is the next higher low. And it's higher than the previous one. Simple stuff, really simple stuff. And then you can enter on the next dip. And then you can stop if it breaks the previous low, essentially. So this is a very basic TA, but that just can just make your life a little bit easier, a little bit less risky. That's how most people operate in crypto. But yeah, I think owning the casinos like Hyperliquid, Pump, probably like a safer risk to reward bet than trying to be the gambler who's actually doing the perp trades or is buying the coins on Pump. And yeah, we are getting into the degenerate portion of the cycle. Now, obviously, I do think Bitcoin might chill out here a little bit. Well, it's hard to know for sure, but I think, you know, over the next few months, it's probably going to be higher. Who knows where it tops out, but the higher it goes, the more degenerate the cycle gets, the more money that PumpFun and Hyperliquid make. So the more money they're making, the more token buybacks they're doing, and the more people are talking about them, the more attention there is on them. So they probably lower risk. But yeah, would I be buying coins right now? You know, maybe Hyperliquid and Pump, but you know, you just, and maybe some like, you either want to buy coins with great fundamentals or, you know, absolute tier one dog shit, as I always say. Another one that, like on the similar vein, is obviously Bonk, because they have their Bonk Launchpad. So that's like the casino as well, on a bit of a pullback here. And Polymarket, whenever that drops, will be huge. Hopefully they do an airdrop and they do a coin. I'm not entirely sure, but it would be great for me if they did. And I think if you own that coin, it probably does well as well. What else on Hyperliquid? If you know Invest Answers, he made a video on Hyperliquid. Finally, we've been talking about Hyperliquid on my channel for months and months, but he's finally made a Hyperliquid video. So I want to play this for Jesus. But yeah, he was basically bullish on Hyperliquid, and he doesn't really talk about coins that often. And you know, he's like very fundamentals, very data driven investor. So that's a big, and like he has over 500,000 subscribers. So that's a lot of attention, a lot of new eyeballs on the Hyperliquid investment. And he was kind of saying, oh, it's so hard to invest in Hyperliquid, it's so hard to buy it. That's bullish. The harder it is to buy something, if it's harder to buy something and you're the one buying it, and then eventually it's easy to buy when it's on Binance and Coinbase, they're the exit liquidity. So that's a good thing. If it's hard to buy, it's a good thing. Dev does not read the chat. I'm not sure if this is from today. Read the chat. What? Grant. I'm trying to read the chat on PumpFun and YouTube. So I think the people on PumpFun are just like, oh, there's a bundle wallet. Man, it's 8K market cap. Like, obviously, I'm going to have a couple of percent of the coin. I'm not going to sell it. I'm a YouTuber first. So I just don't want someone coming in and buying half the supply of this coin. You know what I mean? And then I have no control over it. I'm not going to dump it on like a doxed or whatever. So Get over it. I don't care. All right. What else do I want to talk about it? Yeah. Another couple of things on the Hype EVM. Obviously, we're still somewhat farming Hyperliquid because they do have another airdrop, hopefully, at some point. And, there is a likelihood that people using the Hype EVM will get rewarded. And they've just brought Hypercore, what's called Core Writer, which basically allows people who are building on the Hype EVM chain to tap into the liquidity on Hypercore. And if you don't understand what I mean, watch my last Hyperliquid video. But basically, there's all this liquidity on Hypercore, which is this platform, and the EVM doesn't really have that much liquidity. It's just like, like any other layer 2, like any other layer 1, like any other EVM chain. And basically, Core Writer allows the devs on the Hyper EVM to tap into the insane amount of liquidity on the Hyperliquid core on this app. So that's huge. So, and one project I wanted to talk about, which I just started using, is Project X. So I'll leave that. If you want to use my referral link, I'll leave, I think it's just Hyperliquid. This is it, DJ Investor, at DJ Investor. That's the referral link if you wouldn't mind using that if you want to try this. I think this is going to be a good one to farm if you are farming Hyper EVM. This was built by Lamboland. If you know Lamboland on Twitter, he's built a few interesting things over time. So you can just provide liquidity. So you can get good APYs on this stuff. I just did this today. I just put in some money into Pump versus Hype, getting 350% APY. And I'm basically dollar cost averaging into Pump using my Hype. So $20 overnight. Whoa. Yeah, so I think this is probably an interesting one to farm. And the other one that just launched as well is Kinetic. So let me find that one. Here we go. This is just liquid staking. And this is another very hyped up project. So I think it's worth staking with them. So if you have liquid stake on stake type, could consider swapping it to K Hype because, excuse me, for whatever reason, people are more bullish on Kinetic. So there you go. I think I have a referral link. Let me see. Maybe not. I don't already know. Okay, I don't think there is, but that's the link. It's just Kinetic with a Q, XYZ. Is there referral? If there is, I'll leave it in the description after the video's over. What do I think about Moot meme coin? Feels like it's going to be a runner. I don't know what that is. We'll have a look. Oops. Is it on Solana? What is it? This one? Moot. I don't know what it is. Grok, who are my top 25 moots? Oh, I have seen people tweeting that. Yeah, maybe it could be a runner of the day. Potentially okay entry here with that support. But yeah, I have no idea. Oh, my dog's barking. Hopefully you can't hear that. What I do like, Abstract's obviously going to be dropping their token eventually. I like on Abstract I have a bit of Newt. I think Abstra as well. These memes are doing well, and I think if you own some of these memes, that could help with your airdrop. Nettie, stop! Sorry, so distracting. My dog's Bichon Freeze literally barks all day. So annoying. I'll take that down. Hide. So yeah, these are the top memes on Abstract Chain. If you're not on Abstract Chain, maybe it's time to bridge over because, well, maybe it's a little bit late, but obviously you've seen the run in the Pengu token. It's partly because uh, Abstract is likely to do their airdrop soon. Pudgy Penguins are ripping. So yeah, this Abster token ripped recently. I'll show you the chart. 1 week. Yeah, it went from 18 million up to 35 million. So I own a tiny bit of that and a tiny bit of this one. The reason I like this one is your man Crypto Dan is shilling it really hard. So he's probably going to continue shilling it. Any other meme coins? We saw Alon, who's again the CEO or the founder of PumpFun. Sorry, not. He bought one soul of Neat coin and went from 6 million in one candle. It went up to 30 million, so an instant 5x. But yeah, I've been holding this one since it basically launched. Well, not since it launched, unfortunately, but like since its first few pumps. I still like this one. I'm probably down on a position, but I think this is a funny one. Chill House still pumping out good content, but it has all this drama about the creator and the dev, so it's a bit annoying. I wish they would just like stop talking about that. But I suppose the guy running the Twitter page wants to make a bit of bread off it, and he's basically the one who's made it pump. Yeah, there are my thoughts on Chill House. Anything else I wanted to talk about? Yeah, going back to Hyperliquid, what else I'm doing? Basically, I've been kind of taking profits on Bitcoin and stuff like that. Oh, Jesus. Oh, yeah, I need to delete all this. How do I delete? Oh, perfect. Like I said, I think we might be in a range, or like if you asked me a year ago, Bitcoin's 120 grand or whatever it is now, would you be taking profits? And like, say me 1 or 2 years ago when Bitcoin was like here, I'd be like, yes, I'm going to start taking profits once Bitcoin starts breaking 100 grand. So I need to stick to my game plan. So there's a couple of ways you can take profits. So one way is to short it. Now, right now, Bitcoin's only 10% yield, but if you're shorting Bitcoin, say you want to sell like $1,000 worth of Bitcoin to take profits, and then you can sell another 1,000 next month, or whatever way you want to take profits. Instead of just selling it and putting it into your bank account, if you want to make a bit of yield on that, you can just go, okay, I have no money in this account, but you could just short $1,000 worth of Bitcoin and keep the spot, and then you're going to earn 10% on that trade. So you've already basically cashed out because you're hedged, but like this can spike up to like 30%. This has been like 30%, 40% on Bitcoin for the last while. And yeah, I kind of think Bitcoin's the first thing I sell. We're at 100K. We're using TradFi boomers as our exit liquidity. That was always the dream. We'd sell to the institutions, we'd sell to countries, and that's starting to happen. So no, I'm not selling my full stack, but over the next few months, it's kind of like if the 4-year cycle ends up being a thing, this is the point. This is the place where we said we would start selling. So over the next while, I'm going to be dollar cost averaging out. And I know I'm not selling the top, and I don't care if I don't sell the perfect top. No one really does. But I don't want to go through another bear market without having sold anything, because I've done that the last 2 times. And I'm just so stupid and I'm so bad at selling. So I'm just trying to be more disciplined with it. So yeah, you can short it, or you can sell your spot again on Hyperliquid and then use like the USDC that you have. You could use it in something like Liminal, which we talked about, or you can like find. So say you've sold your Bitcoin, you've sold your $1,000 worth of Bitcoin, so you have 1,000 USDC in Hyperliquid now, and sell it. You might as well sell it in Hyperliquid. So say you have Bitcoin in your hardware wallet, transfer it to Hyperliquid, sell it on Hyperliquid because you can transfer Bitcoin spot. I'm just on a sub account here. You can sell it on Hyperliquid. It's gonna be better fees than Coinbase to sell it on Hyperliquid. It's gonna help with your next airdrop to do that. And now you have $1,000 of USDC. What you can do, you go 8-hour funding. What has the highest 8-hour funding? Okay, let's do a token that we know. Well, Vine has a crazy 8-hour funding, but that might not last. It might be just something strange. But we could use Vine as an example. So they're paying you 250% APY to short it. So basically what you can do, you go to Jupiter, you buy $1,000 worth of Vine, and now you're hedged. You short $1,000 worth of Vine here. And basically this, you're going to earn 250% on this short. And even if this moons up, as long as you have enough collateral in your Hyperliquid account, you're going to just get that APY. Even though you've lost a load of money on your short, you'll have the Vine in your Solana wallet, so you won't have lost any money, and you'll just be earning that from that $1,000 that you took out. But you can do it like all within. Say you don't want to hold in your Solana wallet. Farcoin has perps and it has spot, so you can buy the spot in Hyperliquid, $1,000 worth of Farcoin spot, and then short $1,000 worth of Farcoin on the perps. Now, the last few days when everything was going crazy, obviously Bitcoin's has had a bit of a pullback here. But the last few days, this has been like 60% APY, to 50% APY, 100% APY. So you can just go and check what has a large amount of funding and use your stables. Like if you're earning 60% APY on your stables that you've cashed out, it's not bad. And yeah, it's not bad, and it's also kind of pretty low risk. So yeah, I'm taking a little bit of profits. I'm taking profits first on Bitcoin, just small amounts, and then as the cycle, like once we get to the next, hopefully, once we get to the next parabolic stage, like up here, and altcoins are going crazy, I want to be really, really disciplined and really aggressive. I even took some profits on Sol, but I want to be really aggressive selling my altcoins in the blow off top, because I don't mind holding a decent chunk of my Bitcoin over a bear market, because there's always a chance Bitcoin just like pumps but doesn't really drop that much, like has like a 30% pullback. Like in my opinion, there's institutions involved. There's a chance that we don't have like a crazy blow off top up to 250. We might just top out at 160, but I think it's unless we do have like a crazy blow off that we go up to like 250, I think the chances of us having an 80% drawdown are like basically zero. But if we did get up to like a crazy euphoria on Bitcoin, then we could have an 80% pullback. But I think if we're like below 200 grand, I don't think we're gonna get another 80% drop because of all the TradFi people who are in it and stuff like that. It's not like a retail game anymore, and they're not gonna let it get too high, and they're not gonna let it get too low. And it's like, in previous cycles, people are like, okay, Bitcoin was a fun experiment, but it's dead now. It didn't really work. Every bear market, that's how it feels. If you haven't been through a bear market, that's how it feels. It's like, okay, Bitcoin might not come back. Like in this bear market, we kind of did know that Bitcoin was going to come back, but at the same time, you're just not 100% convinced. Definitely in the 2018 bear market, you're like, oh, this might not come back at all. But in the next bear market, you're probably going to think everyone's going to know Bitcoin's likely going to come back. It's being accepted by the world at this point. I'm not going to mention that token name on the stream, but there you go. It could be right. Feels like we're reaching the degen part of the cycle. Absolutely. Fundamentals don't matter as much. Might be a headwind. Also, unlocks coming up for team. Oh, you're talking about Hyperliquid. That's true. I also do think that this cycle has been very much TradFi driven. So I think he's talking about Hyperliquid specifically. Of PumpFun guys probably can't hear me. Basically, he's asking about Hyperliquid, and he's saying fundamentals don't matter anymore because we're in the crazy part of the cycle, and there's big unlocks coming for the team. Those unlocks aren't for 6 months. I don't think they're something you really need to be worried about. I think TradFi are very much involved in crypto now, and TradFi love fundamentals. So no, I don't think Hyperliquid is like suddenly not gonna be a narrative. But yeah, I do agree. Like there will be a lot of dog shit that goes crazy high as well. So yeah, but I'm still extremely bullish on Hyperliquid. It's still one of my main plays for the rest of the cycle, and it's one of the. It's not one I'm gonna take profits on that until like much higher levels, in my opinion. Anything else I want to talk about? Anyone have any questions? If not, I'm going to wrap it up. Yeah, if you wouldn't mind using my referral links in the description on YouTube, that would be greatly appreciated. Try out this one. I think that's going to be Cook as well as the Kinetic, wherever that's gone. I think if you're farming Hyperliquid, use these new 2 platforms. I think they're being hyped for a while, so probably worth doing. All right, with that, I'm going to end the stream. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and talk to you soon. Cheers.